Hello and welcome, mystery searchers and gizmo solvers, art piece finders, and little boys that hang out with guys that aren't actually detectives but do detective jobs.
All right, that's welcome.
You're listening to Pocket Cast.
Yes.
My name is Fletcher. His name is Ed.
Yep.
He can be found at Unique Horn. That's horn with a zero instead of an O.
Yep.
There we go. This is you can reach me fucking
Gaptooth MF.
That's right, on Twitter. We also have a Facebook page. I believe it's Pocket Cast with an exclamation mark at the end. There's a space between Pocket and Cast.
I think so.
There's a little confusion if you look at our artwork versus our name. Those two are different. There is another Pocket Cast that's out there, but they don't have a space, and we have a space.
Yeah,
and that's what makes the difference. Is that
honestly, those guys kind of suck.
I haven't actually listened to it.
I haven't even looked at it.
I bet it's okay. I hate to just throw some shade on what could be a really good 7-episode podcast.
Nah,
maybe they got their mission done.
That's it. They got it.
Maybe once we hit 9 episodes, they're like, "Oh, your Pocket Cast."
Oh, our bad.
Yeah,
our bad.
Then we'll start getting publicity.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna take off.
Bro, Jay Leno could be in our future.
You know what? It's so funny that you say that. I grew up like watching Jay Leno, like sneaking down at night to watch Jay Leno, and it's so funny to look back on because I'm like, I had no idea what they were talking about at all, not a clue. But for some reason, I just loved the talk show atmosphere, and it was a late night TV show,
Yeah.
So it was like, all right,
Man,
yeah.
I don't know what shows my parents used to watch
Adults
after I went to
talking.
bed.
I don't know if. So memory is funny, right? Because like you alter it without realizing that you alter it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Either I have a memory of watching it like on the stairs, and being able from our house in Iowa, we could watch like the TV on the staircase.
Are you about to tell? Were you watching it through the reflection of like a picture?
No,
hanging on the
just
wall,
like
or you had a line of sight.
There was a line of sight.
Okay.
There was kind of a opening in the wall, in the it was like a doorway.
Sure.
That you could go through. There's no doors or anything, but it was just that big opening.
Sure.
So like part of the TV you could see from the stairs.
That's wild, because I thought that's where you were going with it for a second, and I was like, oh god, I'm about to question my entire childhood, because I'm like, I have a distinct memory of sitting on the top step of the stairs and being able to watch TV through the reflection of a picture hanging on the wall or something.
We definitely I could have, I guess, because we had pictures hanging there, but there was no need to.
Yeah, no need to obfuscate on my account.
I think if you can see the reflection, you can probably see the original image, right?
I don't remember what I watched. I do remember. Was it the Twilight Zone or something? Maybe my parents were watching. I don't remember.
I don't think your parents were watching the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You weren't a baby in the 70s.
Well, I remember.
I don't even know when the Twilight Zone came out. Maybe it's later than that.
I don't know.
It's black and white though, so I don't feel like it's like. I feel like it's fair to say it's 60s.
Yeah,
It could have been watching reruns.
Yeah, it could have been reruns.
I watched so many reruns.
I remember Murder Mysteries. Right? Isn't that just the name of it? Murder Mysteries?
It could be. I don't know.
It had like a partially animated intro for like an adult late night TV show. I don't know anything about it.
I feel like my family was always trying to get a deal on TV, and so for a while we had I want to say it was like Canadian DirecTV or something. I don't know why, but we had all these Canadian channels and TV shows.
Interesting.
Ghost Rider was one of them.
Ghost, like the TV show, or like?
Yeah, it was a TV show called
you had
Ghost Rider.
Okay.
And it was like where this ghost could take, say for this, there's an ACD poster hanging behind Ed.
Yeah.
And at the top it says AC Lightning Bolt DC, and at the bottom it says for those about to rock. So Ghost Rider would be able to take only those letters and create a message for these kids that were trying to solve a mystery, because this ghost was like helping them all the time solve mysteries. But the only way he could communicate was through like what letters he'd already been given in certain scenarios.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
No one has, because it's Canadian TV. I'm sure
awesome.
Canadians have heard of it. I'm sure there's some people up north that are like, fuck yeah,
All
Ghost
about
Rider
that
was my shit. There's a show called Reboot that I really liked. It's
Okay.
really cool.
Is it about a robot?
It's
Oh.
about programs inside of a computer, and it's some of the earliest like CGI television show like
Really?
going on, and it's 90s, so it doesn't
Okay,
look
yeah.
great, but
Doesn't look bad.
it doesn't look great.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But it's
90s.
once again one of those like it was mainly broadcast in Canada and eventually it was brought down to America. I think Cartoon Network might have picked it up eventually,
Oh no shit.
but for the longest time I had seen it years before because of this weird ass Canadian television. Yeah,
That's awesome.
man, we lost track there.
No, we found the track.
We are Pocket Casts.
Yeah, what did we do? We
We-
do a podcast.
About the DS and the DS library, all of the North American games.
Yeah, we're playing them all.
I mean, I'm open to other games too.
What are you telling me right now?
Like, I'm not saying I'm gonna add in Japanese games because obviously we wouldn't have fun.
I mean, maybe we.
There's some I'm sure that you can play without translation, but
Oh,
I'm sure
without-
there's a
I didn't
lot of
consider
good
the lack of
games.
translation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
When
Yeah.
yeah. But if there's like a European game,
Oh, well, it's
That-
funny you mentioned that because I don't know if you picked up on this, but we just played the UK version of Professor Layton in the Curious Village.
I did not pick up on
Everything
that,
was in
no.
pounds. Now, I didn't think anything of it other than like, oh, maybe they just picked a or not monetary. I mean, yes, a monetary system, but an arbitrary monetary system from another country.
Like obviously the professor is like they're not American.
No, everyone's very clearly like
Eastern European or European.
something.
I don't know,
European.
but it's not. So that would it made
The
sense.
little
to
kid
me.
at one point says "core blimey," so
I don't even know what that means. I know what blimey
I
means.
recognize it as an expression, but I don't know that I can give you a direct translation of it.
This past 2 weeks, this fortnight,
This
we
fortnight.
played Professor Layton and the Curious Village.
Woo! Bro, I was so pumped for this game.
I was too, especially after our last two games.
Mm-hmm.
This was definitely nice going in. Booting up and seeing, is it level 5? Is that what the studio
That's
is
the
called?
developer,
The
yep.
developer. Level 5 is just, they have so many great games. And so seeing level
was
5
pumped,
instantly,
dude.
I'm just like, fuck.
Let's go.
Yes, let's do this. They made a game that we talked about on the first episode, the Attack of the Friday Monsters. So that's one of my. They published that game. They didn't
Okay,
develop
okay.
that game, but there is a heir to level 5 games. The first game on their list of developed games is Dark Cloud. Have you ever seen Dark Cloud? It was a very cool action RPG on the PlayStation 2 that I remember watching my cousin Casey play.
Okay.
A ton. I remember a very specific summer vacation.
He would play a game that nobody's heard of on the PlayStation.
I don't think no. So I'm gonna back you up there and say that's not no one's ever heard of it. A lot of people have a very special place for Dark
okay.
Cloud. Maybe Dark Cloud 2 is specifically what I'm thinking of, but
Uh-huh.
those two games people really appreciate and enjoy.
Do
And
they have a
then there's
DS title?
for the Dark Cloud series.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do too much digging. I just kind of went through the list of level 5, just curious
that's
of what
fair.
they'd put out. And besides these 3 games, I can't think of
Yeah.
much else now.
To my knowledge, they did do all the other Professor Layton games.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
Oh yeah, and they just have quite the presence on Nintendo.
It's a dude, it was a clean polish through and through.
You were really surprised, I remember saying to me about the sound.
Oh, dude. So, especially after rating our first couple of games fairly well from an audio perspective, either from their music and the composition or the quality, bro, the first you start a new save file and immediately you're met with pretty damn good full dub. Fully animated cutscene. It was insane. Oh my god, I was like jumping up and down. I was like, holy shit! I didn't know it could do this.
It looks so good
Oh,
too.
it's so nice.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Dude, it's putting everything to shame. And I'm like, oh no, we should have not played this game so early on. But it was a breath of fresh air.
I will.
Not mad.
I'm curious to what you think about the cutscenes actually, because we got better. We got our first two games were from 2009.
Yep.
This game is probably, I'm gonna say, 2005, maybe
I think
even
so.
earlier than that. And I think because of that, in the cutscenes, the opening cutscenes, I almost feel like Solo 2 Robos is better. I feel like both of the last two games is almost better, only in the lack of pixelization, because there's a little bit of pixelization that you get with the Professor Layton cutscenes, but the art style.
The art style
Is so good that it doesn't matter.
I have to give it to. Hold on, let me look and see who it was. There was a studio that did. It was PA Works, Progressive Animation Works, did all the animations for the various cutscenes in the game, and I feel like I don't want to disagree with you about Solo 2 Robo and the quality and how high, like, just they were ascending heights with those animations.
Well, they were much later on in.
True. Yeah, the technology is thoroughly established at this point, sure. But I feel like the difference between is at that point it was known this is what we can do on this platform with these animations, and I feel like Professor Layton was like, we don't give a shit. This is our art style. This is where everything is going. Everything is thoroughly fleshed out. And I felt like, was it as visually impressive at times as some of the stuff from Solo 2 Robo? Maybe not. But dude, it was just clean and crisp the whole time.
Well, and the consistency too, like that's.
Oh,
it has such atmosphere to it.
Oh,
and we
yeah.
love us some atmosphere.
Oh,
I know
dude,
you and
I
I both
love
are
me
all
some-
about the atmosphere in a game. And they did such a great job of the characters staying individual, all strange in their own way. But within this universe, it made sense that each one would be in this town, this tiny little town of. Do you remember what it was called? Saint Mystere.
Saint Mystere.
Saint
Yeah.
Mystere. Yeah, that was.
It's a cute little game, man. I've had this title's been on my radar. Maybe not this title specifically, but at least the Professor Layton series. It's always one that I was aware of growing up, and I knew of. Never once dipped my toe in. Never really had an opportunity to as a kid, and then by the time I'm an adult, it's not on my radar at all. I'm like, oh, it sounded cool. Don't know that I'd ever invest the time intentionally to go back and check it out. So I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it carried an air of like a game for smart people, but I didn't even know necessarily what that meant. That was an impression I had of it. And I always, for me, it kind of lived in the same stream as what are those games, like
Ace Attorney. Yeah, it was Phoenix, right? Ace Attorney. Yes.
Yeah. Never played any of them, but I didn't really know what to expect.
Well, and they do have a crossover, the Phoenix, right? And
okay.
I don't know if they're made by. I have to assume they're developed by the same studio in order to have that kind of crossover.
Yeah, I don't know the
But
legalities behind it.
I'm not sure. It's definitely a title that sticks out in the DS. You know, when people talk about the DS, that feels like Professor Layton is always brought up.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the things that I kept coming to mind for me is just when I think of DS, especially with the exposure to various marketing that I had as a kid. Professor Layton is one of those titles that I remember being there and I remember seeing and hearing about, but just never personally had the chance to play. But God, it is a cool game.
Do you still feel like it's a game for smart people going into it? Not having played it now, having beat the game actually.
Oh yeah, I did beat it. Dude.
You did beat it.
I did. Yes and no. I don't want to gatekeep puzzles because at the core of the game, that's all this is. It's just a brain teaser game. But the puzzles are woven into a fairly involved storyline, and you've got all these, like you said, interesting characters to meet and stuff. No. I wouldn't. I would say I definitely struggled with some of the puzzles. I recognized a large handful of them, whether or not I knew the solutions already or what have you. But you can definitely cheese some of the stuff in here.
Yeah, and because they give you, so I guess to break down the basics of Professor Layton before we get into discussing this, you've got a point and click adventure
Basically,
where every every scene that you come across that you can interact with, there's probably 2 to 3 puzzles in, and they can vary from riddles to math equations to geometry.
mm-hmm.
There's
A lot of logic stuff.
Logic is, and there's a lot of, so there's a really, if you don't like one style, you're not going to be deterred because there's a third of the other style that you will probably enjoy.
And you can skip puzzles straight up.
There's
if,
a lot.
I'd
be curious. I'd be curious to see how many puzzles you actually have to solve to complete the game.
I came across, and I know you came across a couple, but there are a couple of sections of the game where you basically get hit with a wall, if you will, a progress wall, where you have to have so many completed puzzles to continue.
I didn't think about that.
But there's definitely more. You would encounter more than you needed to get there. I don't know what the gap is between how many you're presented with versus how many you need to progress, but it's reasonable.
Yeah, and so you're Professor Layton, accompanied by Luke.
Yeah.
His boy assistant.
Yeah, self-proclaimed attaché or.
I love him. I love Luke.
Dude,
He's
Luke
got such
great.
a spunk to him.
Yeah.
And the professor's very laid back, very cool. Sherlock Holmes type character.
Holmes, debonair. Dude, he's a gentleman. And it's almost comical, like the stereotypes that apply to these guys. And I think it's intentional.
Yeah.
But they're woefully loving characters, and you just cannot help but really like these guys. And they're out there for the most purest of intentions because they love the heart of the mystery. They love solving shit,
and they like to help people.
Yeah, it's great. There's no room for questions or wondering why is this well-grown man hanging out with this little
kid.
boy that, I mean, dude, that kid's got to be what, 8?
Yeah, he's a boy genius. He's obviously a boy genius.
He's a little savant. Solving these weird riddles and shit with this older professor.
Yeah, and
I want to see that man's credentials.
He's a professor. Everyone thinks he's a detective, but he's not.
He's not.
Not a detective.
Just a lover of puzzles.
So the professor and Luke get an invitation to
Saint
Mystere to help with a mystery. I'm curious, do you think the story is all that important?
So, at the heart of the gameplay, irrelevant. But the story is what had me pushing through. For me, it was a mixture of, I want to know what's going on, because I would say at about the halfway mark, I thought I had a pretty good idea of what I thought was actually going on. And, I'm fairly autistic, and I like to think that I know where a movie's going halfway through, right? Or whatever the case may be. So I really wanted to see if I was right, one. I thought the story was endearing, I thought it was charming, and I thought it had more than enough to propel you through having to just ram your head against some of these puzzles that were either really difficult or maybe possibly slightly poorly worded, and you're not sure, like, I know what the answer is, but I'm not presenting it how it wants it.
Mm-hmm. The pacing was very nice there.
Yeah, I quite liked it, because I would really stump on one, and then I'd breeze through 2, and then I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking genius.
Well, I mean, even the pacing with the story, where it brings in, great. Where all of a sudden you're just tired of the puzzles. Not even tired of them, just tired of getting your ass kicked by the puzzles. Yeah. And then you get a little bit of humor and intrigue. Yeah, I enjoyed the story. I just felt that it was very mundane compared to the characters that it presented.
The characters were excellent, and I would like to take a second to talk about my favorite one.
Absolutely, let's hear it.
Did you ever meet Prosciutto?
Prosciutto is the little weirdo that eats all the trash and food at his house. Or his house is just like trash that he's always eating.
You should, at some point, you should check out my Twitter profile, because I finally put a picture, and it is of him.
Awesome.
Dude, I loved this dude. He's just this little short, slightly pot-bellied man with a little cap on, and he doesn't give a shit about anything other than filling his face.
You say short, but I feel like he's smaller than the 9-year-old. He's smaller than Luke.
He's a pretty slender guy, but he's got a little tugboat on him, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a little cutie.
donut.
I liked Prosciutto. I resonated with him. He's like, I don't leave my house but to go to the market and buy copious amounts of cured meats. And I do not have time for whatever it is you want to talk to me about.
No, he is so annoyed with anybody that's like, I'm eating. Why?
Leave me the fuck alone.
I think my favorite was probably the butler. Arthur?
No, it was Matthew. I did like him too. And something about his just design, his 2D character design felt so aside from the stylization of literally everyone else. I thought, I don't know what it was. Everyone else typically had a lot of overpronounced, lengthy, I felt like everybody was drawn out and had very slender and elongated pronunciations, whereas Matthew is
short, stout,
dude. It looks like Winnie the Pooh if you scrunched him down with your fingers.
He's like very just scared looking guy.
He's a great character.
He's just concerned about everyone's well-being.
Yeah,
you know?
I could feel Matthew's anxiety while playing the game.
Absolutely. Anytime you see him, he's just like, oh fuck.
Oh, somebody was murdered on the grounds.
Oh, this is my
shit.
fault.
I'm on duty.
How would I let this happen to this family of amazing people who are terrible, god awful?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said to you earlier, it reminds me of a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It had a very Tim Burton-esque,
with those slender, weird characters,
flair to its accentuations. Oh, I loved it.
I really enjoyed it too. The presentation, cool. The atmosphere, the puzzles. Dude, do you have a favorite puzzle that you can think of?
So they had several variations of different degrees of difficulty of those. I don't know. They're called the block slide puzzles.
Oh yeah.
So you have something in one corner, and the goal is to get it to the other, and you've got blocks of various shapes on a Tetris board, and you only have so many free blocks with which to play, and you have to rearrange everything and work the one thing from one side to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were stupid easy, and I did one of them. I was into 600 moves on, just working the motherfucker out. But I do like those because you don't really know, you can come in with a strategy, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of you got to move stuff around and forget what you think you know, and I don't know. I like those.
You definitely get a line halfway clinked together, and it totally goes against your strategy that you had before.
Yeah.
But at least now you have these three together. That even if you have to move from way over there, I've got them grouped now, and I somewhat have it figured out. And then you get a twist thrown at you, where you're like, I've undone. It's half of my progress.
I was so sure of my progress 10 seconds ago, and then now I'm realizing I'm where I started.
If not worse off.
Yeah, if not way worse off. Well, time to restart. Yeah. What about you? Do you have a favorite?
I think one of my favorites was one that I really disliked, but now that I think back on it, I really enjoy it, was the lazy guard. That wants to take as few steps as possible through the.
That's right. It was the museum.
He wants to take as few turns as possible.
Right. He had 9 rooms set up in a 3x3 block. Each each with a door. It was basically like one open room that had like
Yeah, false
pillars
walls.
at
Yeah.
each of the points. Yeah, so they weren't that one that one threw me for a second because I thought it should just be a circle at one point. He doesn't need to take any turns. He just does a
Yep,
circle.
yep, yep. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, it's not a turn if
"Fuck
you're
you."
just always turning. It ends up being that, like,
Just go through them
diagonally, and it's just so duh.
It was duh, but I felt like, as far as the puzzles go, I felt like that's where the shortcoming of the representation of these puzzles and the DS itself came to play heavily. And it's, for me, it was really the only time that I struggled with anything. And it wasn't on a lot of the puzzles, but there were a few where it was more of a free flow, where you're not interacting with designated points on the puzzle as it's presented to you. Like, you have these blocks, you can move them, or you connect the dots, or whatever it might be. It's you have to kind of draw something,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit more interpretive. And so, and I feel like it was almost intentional to trip you up with, you can do anything. Can you do anything the right way, though? You know?
Did you run into the star puzzle that we had talked about?
Holy shit! With all of the black and white diagonal, I did.
That's one where, first of all, it's hard to see
It is hard
where
to
the
see.
star is, and then from that point, drawing the star, the stylus is not very
It's
accurate.
not, no.
And I'm wondering, because is this touchscreen, or is this because it's an earlier game that was figuring it out? Because I feel like in the last game we played, where you could do some stylus controls, it was a bit more accurate. You still had
agree.
some looseness to it, which you definitely, when you run into a game where you have to draw a star.
You have to outline something. You have to be fairly precise.
Ugh.
I had to draw that one twice because I did finally find it,
I did too,
and
and
then I had to do it twice.
I drew it on there, and it didn't take it, so I was like, fucking, I'll look somewhere else, and I'm looking
Yeah.
all over for it, and eventually realized that, no, I just drew it roughly.
Yeah, I was in the same boat, and I didn't even really change my approach when I outlined it the second time. I just was like, well, hopefully this one gets the algorithm right.
And
or
it did.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
I got
exactly how mine went, too.
God damn, that's
That
so
was a
funny.
cool one. That was a really
I did like that
interesting-
one. There were, I mean, we talked about this earlier. There are some puzzles, and these were probably amongst my least favorite, but also my favorite, just depending. But some of the puzzles are logic, and you have to, you know, you're just ruling stuff out, trying to keep up, and it's throwing you for a curve. Some of them are almost like word problems, like you'd get in a third grade math class, but with a loophole somewhere, and you just have to reread it a second time. And some of them are, this isn't really a puzzle as much as fuck you, and just do it by hand. You have to slog through the atrocity of whatever tedious activity we've presented before you, and you just have to not go cross-eyed. There is no trick to it. You just have to slog through and do the work.
I think one of the best examples of that is that you run into multiple of these where it's, I was asking my dad how old he is.
Oh.
And he's double the age plus 10.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and like you said, it's where you just have to write out. And luckily, you have the stylus and the bottom screen to just start writing out.
Dude, I
Your
straight up grabbed a
equations.
notepad at one point. I was like,
I am really, really bad at math. I'm pretty good with words.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good with the logic ones. Geometry, I'm all right with.
Yeah.
But you get into these, figure out based on these 3 different algorithms what the answer is going to be. And I just get so frustrated and instantly walk away from that puzzle.
I feel that. I am fairly proud of my completion statistics. I looked it up. I think there's 120 total puzzles. And I found it was, I think, 78 or 88. Whatever the number was, I completed all but one that I found. I only skipped one.
Do you know which one you skipped?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly which one, but did you ever make it past the clock tower?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you would have had to because that's where prosciutto is.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you ever talk to the? Oh wait, no, this was in the tower area. I think after it's on the other side of the marketplace, which is past the clock tower.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the lady and she's looks like she's holding up like a hand of cards or something maybe, and she's got weird pancake titties that are like up on her chin for some reason. Well, she's holding some cards, and the only puzzles she ever gave me were cards, and she only appeared like kind of pretty late in the game, and then she only reappeared for me even later in the game. But she only gave you like these weird card puzzles, and it was one of them was I have oh no I do remember the exact one that I skipped. It was something to the effect of you put all 52 cards face down, randomly scrambled, on a table plus one joker. What are the odds that you will pull all four aces before the joker? And I was like, no, I'm no, I don't know that math. So I pulled a hint, and it's worth noting that every time you get a hint on one of these puzzles, and the most I think you can ever get is three.
Yeah.
I don't think all of them have three, but most do, and it's only three. But every time you do, you have to use a hint coin, and those can only be found by spamming random areas on a given location within the world, and maybe there'll be a coin there. But there's a finite number of those. Anyway, so I burned through the hints, and like the first hint was something to the effect of, "You don't need math to solve this one. Just think about it a different way." And I'm like, so I think I burned all three hints, and I had no idea. I threw a couple of guesses in there, and I was like, "Fuck that."
Did you ever look up what the answer was?
No, there were a couple that I think two or three that I did look the answer up to, and there were only ones that I was like very confident that I knew what was going on and thought that I was probably getting caught up on some weird gimmick that didn't translate well. One of those ended up being like that. I couldn't tell you which one, and the other two I was just dumb.
Yeah, there's only one that I looked up, and it was just me being dumb.
Yeah, that always hurts your pride a little bit.
Well, let's see if I can word this right. 1,000 of these equal 2 of these.
Right.
Right? Isn't that what it is? Yeah. And I just start thinking immediately, oh, Roman numerals, X.
Oh, that's actually pretty.
I mean, it's wrong. I mean, obviously,
it is wrong, but
like,
that's I mean, there's so many with zero context and not having any other puzzles like that. Like you come into that like I have no idea even where this is starting.
I'm thinking from. X. I'm thinking L. I'm thinking different Roman numerals, and it ends up being, spoiler alert, 1,000 millimeters.
Yeah, one meter is 1,000
millimeters.
Yeah. And it makes
it's so duh. It's so obvious. I even at one point thought about centimeters.
Oh,
but
yeah.
C to CM, nope, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I was right there.
Yeah,
I had the apple in my mouth, man, and I just missed it.
Dude, this definitely. I thought about. I think you said something about it at the end of not last week, but our last episode about. Seeing this game or one of these titles as a kid and thinking that's a game for smart people or not being smart enough to play it. And I kept thinking about that this whole time. I'm like, I would have gone nowhere in this game as a kid. Like, I would have probably gotten a handful of these, but I would not have made a lot of forward progress.
Yeah, I know. As a high schooler, I did not.
Nah.
I don't think I made it very far at all. Just also realizing I was like, there's no way I'm going to make this through without looking up answers or using tons of hints.
I did use a lot more hints than I wanted to, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and at that point, you're almost like, why am I bothering playing this game if I'm just going to look up the answers? This time through, I did not do that. I felt fine using hints. I was...
Yeah, I did pretty well with hints.
The only time where you run into a problem with hints is that there's a puzzle I want to solve, but I don't want to use my hint points because there's a puzzle I will have to solve in the future to progress the story.
Yeah, it's gear fear, but with hint points.
What is gear fear?
Yeah, gear fear. I don't know that I could say with 100% certainty that it was invented or coined for this genre of games, but I learned about it through playing games like Tarkov, like Escape from Tarkov. But the idea that you go into a raid, you pew pew, and you collect loot and find some gear, you kill another player, maybe he's got really good shit, so you pick it up, and you only get to keep what you successfully exfil with. You die, you lose everything on you, right? So the idea that you might amass some really dope shit, but if you take it in, you risk dying and losing it, and so you have gear fear. So you hoard all this really good shit, and you're too afraid to use it because you might die.
Got you. Yeah.
Yeah, but with hint coins.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely have that feeling.
Oh.
And it does say at one point in the game, at the beginning, about hint coins.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you that they're hidden in these precarious places. The first one it gives you isn't it like a barrel that's kind of moving?
Yeah, it's shaking.
And so you click on it.
That was very misleading.
Because the rest of them are...
No, there are none that are like moving or animated. It's just...
And you also have where I go into the town itself. So you walk in. The game is presented as hand-drawn images. Mm-hmm. And there are then on top of it some of the characters kind of in their idle animations.
Yeah.
And then you have a choice to interact with objects, or you can click on the bottom right where you've got a shoe, and that then will bring up arrows on your screen where you can decide where you're going to traverse. And it gives you, there's only so many arrows, so you kind of have a predetermined destination.
Dude, late game, arrows everywhere.
Oh yeah.
The main place in the village, which I think starts out with two
or three.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think you have
three because
it's the
you
main
unlock
junction
the clock.
within the town. So you can go back or down, and you can go left and right. At the end, there's also two buildings you can go into. You can go through the clock tower, and then I think there's actually another door at the very end. So there's like 6 arrows on the screen, and they're all right next to each other. It's pretty funny.
So when you're not moving around, you can click on different spots, and sometimes your characters will make a comment about them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll have a hidden puzzle in them.
True.
And sometimes they'll have the hint coins. Now, anytime you have a cutscene, is it a cutscene or a chapter end?
So it depends. I noticed that in the earlier parts of the game, like you have a lot of front-loaded animated cutscenes, setting up the story, blah blah blah, and then because the story does make a lot of moves where you find you arrive at this place because you were invited. Holy shit, you were invited. There's this challenge that's been distributed. The guy dies. He's like, oh my god, whoever can solve these puzzles and find my golden apple will win my inheritance. And so people are all, oh my god, we're gonna solve these fucking puzzles and get a lot of money. And so at the beginning, you have all these cutscenes setting it up, and then basically you're given an objective, and you try to hunt down that objective, and then usually after you finish the main objective, that concludes a chapter, and then you get a fairly drawn out cutscene introducing the next leg, and then it's that point and click, moving around, solving these puzzles, talking to people. But then towards the end, there's a lot more cutscenes again, and there are some long cutscenes in there, bro. And I was stoked on every single one of them. I was never upset that there was a cutscene, dude. It was so awesome.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, very, very fucking pleased playing this game. I had so much fun. It was okay.
It was all right.
Yeah, it wasn't Valorant, but it was all right.
I think I'll take this over Valorant. So anytime you have a cutscene or a chapter end, your hint coins will reset, but like not in the same location where they were before.
Yeah,
but spots that you've clicked, before may now have a hint coin there. Gets a little tedious.
It does get a little tedious. You end up just you come up on a place, and you're just machine gunning the screen. And I don't think we've mentioned this, but it's worth noting. 100% stylus. This game does not have button controls.
It doesn't have any.
No.
Not even for dialogue.
You might be able to hit A or something to like.
You may also be right that it is all 100% touch.
Because you, even from the main menu, you have to touch the screen to select new game, continue, or whatever the third bonus.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There is no D-pad control or button control.
And I loved it. I fucking loved it.
I didn't even know this, so I would say I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, good stuff. Polished, good game. I loved it.
And if you're gonna have stylus controls, adventure-based puzzle game.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Perfect.
This was perfect, dude.
Yeah.
I would play RuneScape all day on this thing.
There was a time when I had the 3DS, and I was just trying so badly to find a hack or a way to play RuneScape on the 3DS.
Dude, that'd be cool.
I believe you can find some footage of people using back in the day. So there was a DS web browser, and you would get the game, the cartridge, and then the cartridge also came with a memory pack that would plug into the GBA slot,
right,
to give it the extra memory that it needed to web browse. Shit. And so from there they would get on to RuneScape. It looked terrible, super laggy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing it on the web browser version, which you can't even do anymore.
Oh no, yeah, that's terrible.
It looked pretty rough, and then I can't remember if I ever found anything on the 3DS. I mean, I guess you could have done the same thing, given the time frame allowed for you to play it in a web browser.
Man, I remember being in the computer lab in like probably 9th grade, just discovering RuneScape for the first time, dude. Cooking some shrimps. I wanted so badly to play that game and just know more about it. It looked so cool. I only played it like 2 or 3 times. Some dude he was like, yeah man, I've been playing this game for a long time. Have a bunch of this shit that I have. It's really cool. And I'm pretty sure he gave me like an obby cape, like the obsidian cape, and some other gear. I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, sick, thanks, dude. And then I got wildy lured and PK'd for everything, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that was about it.
Yeah, then you walk away from the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like,
I think I had a really similar experience of that.
Dude, I don't think there's anybody who's played RuneScape that hasn't. Honestly.
No. I don't think I even actually got PK. What'd you call it?
Wildy lured.
Oh, wildy lured.
I got lured to the wilderness and got player killed by a baddie.
By a baddie. I think I just got baited into like a NPC, a monster I couldn't beat, and then they probably took all the shit from me.
Yeah,
because I didn't come back in time.
Yeah, dude, I wasn't playing games, but like I'd probably watched my grandma play Ocarina of Time a couple of times, and probably played it
in 9th grade.
Yeah.
So there's something that we haven't covered in the show at all.
I had probably played
here.
some GameCube and stuff by that point, but like I was like a vanilla Nintendo dog shit twin stick controls. Like I didn't know anything. I'm just saying that like when I think of a gamer, I think of somebody that can play an FPS game, somebody that can play an RPG. A gamer to me is not somebody who likes to play Candy Crush on their phone.
Right.
Right, that's a bored person. A gamer is somebody who likes games and is familiar with the various types of games out there. As a kid, I was not a gamer. I did have access to a few games. But you put me in front of something like RuneScape, and I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the game. I don't understand where
I think that I get where you're coming from, but I think that everyone feels that way with RuneScape. RuneScape is its own thing in that
totally
sense.
Fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you didn't grow up with like
if you don't have a wiki, if you like I didn't understand the pleasure in the game until I was showed the wiki.
Oh, you have to play, dude. I don't like to play RuneScape if I can't do it at my computer desk with 2 screens with a wiki on one side and a YouTube video in
absolutely
the corner. Gotta have it. But I wouldn't consider myself a gamer as a child.
I think I would consider myself a gamer as a child.
Yeah.
even if I wasn't good at FPS or
Yeah,
like
definitely
things
don't
like
have
that.
to be good. You don't have to be like, oh, I sweat, I twitch.
And like RPGs, I never really like understood or appreciated until honestly kind of recently. I mean,
Yeah.
until I was at least 18 and up, I feel like is when I might have enjoyed one or two RPG games before that, but not commonplace.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you there. I was definitely a lot more into like I wanted to play Halo, I wanted to play Call of Duty, I wanted to play really anything FPS that was cool and hip, and it still is honestly. But I remember, I think one of my cousins or something got a copy of Perfect Dark for N64,
Oh yeah.
and I wanted to play it so bad, and I think I got in trouble or something, or I did some shit, and I was like barred from playing for whatever reason, and we were like going back home like that day. I don't remember. All I remember is that I'm pretty sure it was Michael. Shout out, motherfucker. I'm pretty sure it was him. I think he got to play it and I didn't. I'm still butthurt about that, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I have gone back and I watched some, YouTube gaming clips of people playing through Perfect Dark.
We
Nintendo
actually
64.
had Perfect Dark when you and I lived together.
What?
You got the rare package or something like that where it had
Oh,
Banjo Kazooie. It had Perfect Dark
that's
on there.
right.
And I don't think any of us made it past the tutorial because it was so
It was dog
bad.
shit, dude. It
Yeah.
was dog shit.
It's a really bad game.
I do remember that. I must have blocked that out.
You're like, no, I refuse to know that this game is not good.
That's such a bummer.
It is.
That hurts. Man, I'm still wrecked about it. Fuck you, Michael. This is somehow your fault.
There is things satisfying though about going back to a game on the opposite spectrum that was like hard as a kid or like didn't make sense at all.
Just smoking it now.
No, going back and it still doesn't make sense and
Oh,
it's still
okay.
hard. You're like, oh, I wasn't just a little kid. I also just fucking like this game sucks.
Oh well, I feel like that would apply to any Zelda water dungeon.
I've never had that much problem, like
I
many
just have
issues
it
with the
memorized
water.
at this point.
Like they don't bother me that bad.
Oh really?
No.
Did the Ocarina of Time one with the water levels and shit, and you gotta
you're like it's almost the last level that you get into, right?
No,
So
I think that one's pretty early on because it's right after you get the 3 stones. I
there's
think it's one of your first.
you might be thinking of. I don't think the water temple is because you have to have your metal boots and all that shit.
Metal boots, get the
Your
bottle.
blue tunic, or do you get that in the dungeon? I don't know.
You
but
might get it. It's either that or the scale.
either way,
Oh my
though,
God, I don't remember.
I don't.
Wow.
I feel like by the time you get to the water temple, you're like pretty set. For
Yeah, that
it.
one might be farther on, but I also might be mixing up its position in the timeline with what is it, Jabu Jabu's belly?
Jabu Jabu's belly fucking sucks.
That one is cancer.
Absolutely, that's the reason to not play back through Ocarina of Time. Like you're playing Ocarina of Time, you get to the what's that place called up on the canyon that's got the people that live in the volcano?
It's gonna
Goron Village. Is that what it is?
Is it just called Goron Village?
Goron Village, probably
Sure,
something like that.
it is now.
Like up there on nearly Death Mountain, you get back into that part and you're like, but you get through it and
Yeah.
you get through that little dungeon right there, and the game is great. And then you have to go into Jabu Jabu's belly,
Yeah,
and it's the fucking worst. That's whenever I stop playing. The
yeah,
game.
that one does suck. That one is a pain in the ass.
It's your favorite game.
It is my favorite game, and it still is. I need to play through it again
It's been a long time since
in
I played through
in
it,
my free time, my copious free time.
but it's been
Oh,
12 years at least.
Oh, it's not been that long for me. I think I played through it probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh. What on?
that's what I'm trying to remember. I still have those old GameCube copies. Or you do, or my brother
do you
does.
have my GameCube copy?
No. I definitely have my own.
I need
have-
you to
'cause
see if Michael. I need you to see if you have some of my GameCube games. Please.
Like, I'm fairly certain I have your copy of Piano 3.
I'd love to have it.
And if I don't have it, it's because it's in my collection now, and probably Michael has it, or Brendan might even have it. It's somewhere though.
These Moran boys.
Every couple of years, one of us will just send the whole kit to somebody else,
Yeah,
and then we'll play
when
it for a
that
couple of
happened
years,
like
and
a
then
few years back.
yeah.
Well, with that mystery solved, maybe we should get back to the case at hand.
The case indeed.
Do we even need to go through and rate this game? I think we could just be like 9.9.
Honestly, I'm there. 9.9 all day.
Maybe 9.5, just because the stylus lacks a little bit here and there.
It's not bad.
I struggle to find a flaw.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, honestly, the only time I could see somebody going, yeah, it wasn't really for me, it's because they don't like puzzles.
Yeah,
Or they don't. It's just not their flavor of game.
yeah, or you just don't like the atmosphere, the Wes Anderson, weird kind of,
And that's cool.
Tim Burton-esque feel.
But
Yeah.
if this shit's in your alley, big time recommend.
Yeah, you will love this.
All
Even
day.
if you don't like the DS or video games, you don't have to like video
There
games.
is a mobile version of this game.
Oh, really? This specific
This
game?
specific title, Professor Layton and the Curious Village.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's cool.
crazy, huh?
I did not know that.
Now I will be honest. I don't know for fact that it is currently available,
It was at a time though.
but yes, I could look it up and tell you definitively, but I'm not your mom.
Do it yourself.
Yeah,
And if
Be
it's not,
lazy.
there's a lot of easy ways to get it onto your phone.
Well, that and there's like 5 or 6 other titles. Some for various platforms, perhaps.
Yeah, and the Switch has one too. You're no longer Professor Layton, but you're a female Professor Layton,
Oh,
basically.
sick.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. There's a lot of this. This is a very loved series, obviously, for a
Obviously.
good reason.
And it is. God, I really want to check out others in the series.
We
for
definitely
sure.
will be. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to it. This is one of those games where I absolutely had my DS in my pocket. I was
Oh,
hooked
yeah.
on these puzzles. I'm not saying the story was bad or anything like that. I'm just saying I could have given a shit about it because I was so into these puzzles and so just I wanted the next puzzle. I need my fix, man. I need a riddle. Give me a riddle. Send us your best riddle.
Did you ever figure out where the story was going?
No, I honestly had no real idea. I figured maybe that the old man was like kidnapping people and like hypnotizing them and helping them be
Can
better.
I spoil it for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, spoiler alert right now. If you don't want to know what's going down,
I'll come in
Turn
and
it
post and tell you what time to tune in after we're done spoiling it.
yeah,
Maybe.
that's better than what I was going to suggest. Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe I'll just
maybe
hop
we're
in and
not.
be like, the next game is this. I know that's the only reason you're listening.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So spoiler alert for sure. So the entire premise, the Baron dies. His wife tragically had passed years prior. They have this beautiful daughter, Flora, and he's just so worried that he's not going to be able to keep her occupied and surrounded by positive people, and she'll be lonely after he's gone because he knows the time is coming. And so Bruno, who was the unknown character that you were talking about earlier, the old man with the sack that was seen kidnapping this guy Ramon and suspected of perhaps killing Simon, Bruno and the Baron got together, and the Baron commissioned Bruno to fabricate the entire island of Saint Mystere, and all of the people, all the townsmen, are all like animatronic figures.
Oh,
And
no
so he
way.
occasionally has to quote kidnap them in the middle of the night to repair them when they break down. And so the tower is where he does all of his secret work. And occasionally, when the machines are running and the tower is making all these spooky noises, people mysteriously disappear in the night, but then they also mysteriously reappear as though nothing had happened later.
Feeling better than ever.
Yeah. So that's the story.
So, the Flora character, what was her deal? Who was
So she's the daughter.
she? She is.
Mhm.
She doesn't know that she is Flora.
Well, so she actually lives on the very top of the tower, in this little house that's literally just on the top of the tower, and she's been waiting for somebody to come and find her. So, come to find out, she is the golden apple.
So the girl that you meet, the lady, the not Claudia. Claudia is the cat.
So, yes, so you meet this woman who is the, well, now, well, she's the current wife of the former Baron.
Right.
What is her name? It's Nadia, maybe? Either way, who gives a shit? But she bears a uncanny resemblance to the former wife who had passed away, like 100%, right? And they even confuse them at the beginning. She is also a robot.
She's like the beginning of.
And so you find these pages from a journal as you play the game, and so originally the Baron had her created to pretend to be Mother, but it was too much, and so he had her personality overwritten to be this new wife, and she just kind of was an arm's length person in the dynamic of their family.
Okay, gotcha.
Bigger plot twist: the inspector that is kind of dogging you the whole time, that's trying to figure out like who murdered whom, is not an inspector. He's actually your unknown arch nemesis, Don Paul.
Really?
He pulls off a mask and everything, dude. He's like, it was me the whole time.
So the professor knows who he is.
No. He's like, I've heard of this guy, but I actually don't know. and this character, Don Paul, makes these he makes these mentions to suggest that there was some slight in the past that was very obvious and should be well known to you, and that's why you're my arch nemesis. And Luke's like, you know this guy? And Layton's like, no, I do not know this guy. I have no idea why he's after me or what he's on about.
Oh man, I'm down. I want to keep playing this game. I want to see this.
The story really pans out. It's really cute. There's still like I mean I revealed a lot, but there's more to it. There's so much character and flavor, and there's a lot of little nooks and crannies that the game doesn't make it apparent to you that you can visit or that you'll be able to go to, and some of them might be fairly obvious. But there's a lot of hidden depth in there. I liked it. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
9 out of 5. No, wait. 9.5.
5.
Yeah, 9 out of 5.
I'm good with 9 out of 5.
9 out of 5 it is.
That's a good rating. I know we had talked about it before we started recording, because this is about the time where we usually do our little Wheel of Death to randomly select from pre-selected titles.
Right.
But you and I were talking about saying fuck that.
Yeah, I would like to play Dementium. I think I'm saying that right. Dementium: The Ward. It's a first-person shooter horror game. I've played it before. I really enjoyed it the last time I played it. I would really enjoy playing through it again.
I'm so down for it.
I think an FPS would be a nice change of pace. I think I might have said that last episode.
A change.
It'd be a huge change. I would also like to say, first of all, hey, thanks for listening. I don't think we've ever said that, but thank you for listening. We love doing this. We're going to continue to do this. Enjoy listening some more. And if you have a game that you want us to play, send it in. I guarantee that we will play it. The list is just basically kind of what we have an idea of what we want to play. Sometimes we throw it in the randomizer. Mm-hmm. This time we're just straight up picking which one we want to do.
Yeah, there are no rules.
No, not at all. No. Throw it to us. We're Pocket Cast.
Yeah, this is not a democracy. We do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, it's free range.
Yeah, we eat butts.
We eat butts and we like it.
Yeah. Also, it would be cool to get like other people on here.
Absolutely.
I told you before, Lexi will literally slit our throats in our sleep if we don't have her on at any time we do a Kingdom Hearts title. So
yeah, I'd love to do that. We can definitely throw that into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, send in your game, and if you want to, be on the show with us. I'm sure we can figure out a way to make that work. It's easy. Yeah. This is the easiest thing we've ever done.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty... Yeah.
It's shockingly easy. Another thing is that we are humans and we have random lifetime constraints.
True.
It's going to be out of town. So we're going to go ahead and do a 3-week playthrough for this game.
Yes.
I don't know if it's going to come across affecting at all the way that our editing and distribution goes out. We try to make it so that every 2 weeks the podcast comes out.
That's
I,
the goal.
I don't know exactly how well we land on that. Whatever.
Don't put it on the
Subscribe to
calendar.
us. We'll just pop up whenever we have a new episode. You've kind of got an idea of where we're gonna be. It'll be a fun little like surprise of look at this refreshing little.
I didn't know I could
fucking
do this
hate
today.
Wednesday. Let's do this. Let's make Wednesday way better.
Yeah, and we're not making money off of this, so it's not like we give a shit if it's consistent.
No, not at all.
Like us, don't like us, we don't care.
Fucking no.
No, but tell
Don't
us,
like us, send us some hate because
Yeah,
we love
send
the
us some
publicity.
hate. Yeah, make me want to cry.
Oh yeah.
Want to see a fat boy cry?
Yeah.
I'll do it for $20.
He'll do it for less than that if you make him really
that's true.
sad.
But it's got to be really good.
Really
sad.
good. There's some
Yeah.
deep cuts. I'm also realizing that I mentioned that there's something we haven't covered.
Oh, what's that?
Your sheltered ass life.
Dude, we don't have to talk about it. That's. I feel like listeners don't even deserve that after 4 episodes.
I think that you just got a little taste. This is another next time on Pocket Cast.
Yeah, Ed couldn't afford his therapist, and so here you go.
Here we are. I can't believe the comment that you had of that you had never played a game really until 9th grade. You weren't a gamer until after 9th grade.
Well, and it's not that I'd never played a game. I don't. I mean, I don't know at what age I first played a game. I didn't have regular access to video games for most of my life. I remember we had a GameCube, and then I bought a Wii, even though my mom didn't want me to have one. So I paid my friend's mom to pick me one up, and she brought it to the house.
I love it. I don't even have to say anything. it's just so good. It's a we. Oh man. All right. Next time on Pocket Cast, we're gonna be talking about Dementium the Ward, shooting up a bunch of dead things and
Fuck yeah.
being scared.
Don't overly spoil it for me though. I don't know what's coming.
Silent Hill FPS.
Oh, fuck yeah. This will be fun.
Hell yeah. Catch you next time, gamer boys and girls.
See ya, nerds.